Good morning, and please welcome our panelists. The topic now is solving social problems through technology, social entrepreneurship. Ferhan Cook is our first panelist, Max Maendler and Christian Vollmann. Instead of reading CVs to you and telling you about three biographies and three companies here, I would like to ask each of the three panelists first about their lives and their companies. So it's going to be 5-minute interviews each, and then we get into a discussion before we open the floor. Ferhan Cook. How do you pronounce your first name? Because after so many years in the US, so many years at Apple, has it been changed to Ferhan maybe, or is it still Ferhan?
My name is pronounced as Ferhan. It's an originally Turkish name, still a Turkish name, in fact. Mm-hmm. But in America, I stayed at least 15 years in America in Silicon Valley while I was working at Apple. And I used to be called Ferhan, whatever. It doesn't matter. Ferhan. It's Ferhan, yeah.
Ferhan Cook. Your company, MSpark. What is it?
Okay, so I have some slides actually, just a one or two. I forgot my clicker though, if Rosalie could put up my slide, MSpark slide. But MSpark is a accelerator. It was formed as an accelerator for social entrepreneurs who are actually, and next slide please, and as a to accelerate social entrepreneurs who actually are using technology to accelerate themselves. Thank you so much, I forgot that, yeah. So it was actually inspired by working with several really great social entrepreneurs, which hopefully I'll get to tell you the story of that. But it works with people who want to change the world through high-tech technology, but make a social impact. And it's a personalized service where, depending on the entrepreneur and its business, if they don't understand business models, we focus on that. If they want to have global connections, we focus on that. If they want to have PR and promotion, we focus on that. We coach them to be good speakers, to tell their good stories, especially storytelling, making huge impact in engaging people, other people with their stories. It's really important we do that. And so, but that all came about because I worked with some entrepreneurs in advance of MSpark, and I learned from them, and I decided that I could really do that. And in fact, in partnership with groups like Ashoka, then it makes even more of an impact. So we're basically all accelerators of social innovators.
What are the areas you're focusing on? It's health, women issues?
I actually am passionate about education and health, especially mobile health, because since Apple, I've focused quite a lot on latest technologies, and for the last 15 years on mobile. So, and I know that mobile in all these developing countries, mobile is even more than internet or TV or even electricity in Africa. There's more mobile telephone owners than electricity in households. So mobile is the platform. So we focus on mobile health, mobile education, but we focus on the entrepreneur, actually. If they're passionate and we're passionate about their cause, then we go for it.
Can you explain a couple of examples, maybe? If Nimble Science is a startup, what does it do? How does it work?
So I will talk about these others. Basically, the reason we did Nimble Science is the following. Before I get into Nimble, I have to preamble that because working years and years in global corporate business, technology marketing, publishing, and so on, I got very inspired in 2009 when I went to India and saw a lot of social innovation and decided to help social innovators, which started with this agricultural firm. But I decided that, I don't know if I have the power yet to impact 1 million people right away. So I decided to impact the impactor, which means that this person, Tülin, which is a woman who sends SMS messages to Turkish farmers, but she engaged 1 million Turkish farmers. But no one knew about her, and she couldn't get through to anybody. So I basically took her, polished her. She was a rough diamond, basically. I coached her for 6 months. I put her on my TEDx conference. Then after that, Ashoka met her. Then she became an Ashoka fellow. So then me and Ashoka, I helped her with business models models. She didn't know anything about mobile business models, even though she was engaging people with Vodafone, but she didn't know how to make her own money to sustain herself. So basically, me and Ashoka accelerated her. She's now really famous in Turkey, and she's doing a smart village. And she's still an Ashoka Fellow. Then we had this other project, Peak, which actually is for university professors and ophthalmologists who want to not cure blindness, but help alleviate blindness. There's about 46 million blind people in the world, and 80% of them are in Africa. Mobile penetration in Africa is really high, and so these ophthalmologists set out to do diagnosis of blindness, so they can go to all the remote areas. So anyway, they had this technology where they put the phone on your eye, and they could see the back of the retina. And they can see whether you have cataract or not. They can take the picture of that. They can send it through Google Maps to the London Moorfield Eye Hospital, which then diagnoses the kind of eye disease that they have, whether it's cataract or something else, and then locates the person by map. And instead of lugging 250,000 pounds of kit to operate on those, he puts a little mobile phone on the backpack and goes to the village, gets the lady, brings them to a closest hospital, operates on her, and then she sees again. That's a huge impact. And they're doing, it's an amazing project. It's called, check out peakvision.org, but they're just professors, and they didn't know. I mean, they weren't business people. So we're going to get into the issues of not being business people and how to accelerate and scale these projects. They basically said, no, we want to just do social impact. We just want to give it all for free, and then we want to get donations. And we tried to work with them to figure out, okay, you can be a charity, but you could also be a social business, so that you can get the money and still give the money, but then you still generate something. So they're now on their way. But this was an amazing project. And then they became a TED Fellow after, So one became an Ashoka Fellow, one became a TED Fellow, so that's good. and they're being accelerated still, and they got a crowdfunding. So Nimble, sorry, it's a long answer to Nimble. So because of these projects, they are good, but for me, they're not scalable, right? I'm just doing it one person at a time, but I like to think that I'm impacting the impactor, and they are the ones who impact the thousands. I'm the one who impact them. Just like teacher training, train the teacher, and then teacher could train the students, and you can make more impact this way. But we also said, I was also part of an angel group in Turkey lately in the last 5 years, and I deal with all these entrepreneurs and our colleague investors. We didn't get any projects that are really, I was very interested in impact investing, but we didn't get any projects that the projects didn't warrant the good business models that you should invest in, as a smart investor. But we decided, okay, maybe we should do our own project and see how that feels. How to be an entrepreneur. So Nimble is actually, I'm not doing it, MSpark is helping it, my husband is doing it, but we learned quite a lot on how to be an entrepreneur and all the trials and tribulations of an entrepreneur, how to pitch. And we teach people how to pitch, but then when you're the one who's pitching, then you face the same issues. But Nimble is basically a project which has a huge market potential, because it's helping baby boomers how to stand up so that they don't fall, because falling is the #1 cause of accidental death. So Nimble is a mobile app that trains people on how to keep their balance better, so that as they get older, they could be. So we're learning.
How does the technology work?
It's a mobile app, and it's a wearable strap. But the mobile app trains you first, because you have to have brain plasticity. You have to, 2 times 2 is 4. When you're standing up with your mobile phone, it gives you all these exercises. 4 times 5 is 20, whatever. You make your brain work. And it basically, if you did it for 3 weeks, then your balance becomes much more improved, because it's based on the wisdom of a famous back surgeon. So that his wisdom onto the mobile app. It's a coach for balance training, basically. And the wearable strap measures your walks and measures your balance index, and then based on that, the system gives you training.
Okay. One sentence that just made me curious.
Sorry, it took me too long to kind of go through
Don't
this.
worry about it, don't worry about it. We got time, and we will get to the other panelists, of course, in just a minute. One sentence that made me curious when I prepared this discussion was Ferhan, quote, spent over 15 years in helping bring the television industry into the digital area, end of quote. Is there anything the print industry can learn from it?
Well, we worked with, actually, after Apple, I worked with the print industry quite a bit. In fact, Burda was one of my clients. Burda's Navigo, which was a CD-ROM publishing. So we first with the print industry, we first started with the print industry, then television industry. But it's all the things we've heard about advertising, how to do new business models with digital, and so on. Frankly, I got tired of that, and that's why I went into this.
Okay.
So it's all business models, but not with a cause. And I thought that business models should support a better social cause. And hence this panel, in fact.
And I was going to ask you about your 11 years at Apple, but just very briefly, is there anything about Steve Jobs we don't know yet?
I doubt that, but I guess you don't know his personal impact on me. So basically, I was in the circles of Steve Jobs, even though I wasn't in his direct team, but I was in staff meetings where he used to yell at people and we used to hide under the table. But he gave me an amazing, he changed my blood, basically. He made me into I basically got to appreciate cutting-edge technology and changing the world with cutting-edge technology, which was Apple's mission at the time, and for perfectionism and excellence. So that basically, I was truly an Apple blood person when and I still am, I think, to a great extent.
Thank you so far.
Thank you.
Max Maendler, the co-founder of Lehrermarktplatz, translated Teachers Marketplace, I guess, if you translate it into English. What does it do? What does it want to achieve?
We sell used teachers. No, we don't.
And that works?
No, nobody wants to buy them. It's one of the business models that failed. Now, we try to make education better in Germany. And in doing so, we focus on the teacher, because that's the most important piece of education. You all remember, you had good teachers, you had not so great teachers. We try to make them better by allowing them to share their teaching resources online, their lesson plans, their worksheets, so that the few who are actually good at that, it's not a lot, can design them, and the others can focus more on teaching students directly.
And where are you in terms of starting this company? How many teachers have been involved yet? What's the stage of the development?
We're on our third life.
Yeah.
We hope we get 7. We failed twice with business models last year. One was a student feedback app, and one was a experience share online circle. So we just launched the third one. We launched 6 weeks ago. It's looking good. There's a strong search request need for that. We get a lot of traffic. It's not converting phenomenally yet, but it will, sure, in the future.
And aren't teachers maybe even embarrassed to share what they've been working on? Are they open to this?
That's a funny thing. It's a funny thing because teachers live in a very unfortunate work environment where they get almost no feedback. If at all, they get a twice yearly visit from someone above who tells them you're not doing well, which means that they're super scared of outside opinion. So yes, one of the biggest hurdles we face is that phenomenal material. We see it, it's great. People think, is it really good enough? It's really bizarre.
They're doubting themselves.
They're doubting themselves a lot. Part of our job is training teachers to feel like and to become authors and to share. Yeah.
Are there any ownership issues? I mean, they own their material. It's not, they can actually sell it. There's no legal issue there, right?
Legally, it's very straightforward. It's once you create the material, you own it.
Yeah.
We also need to teach teachers that it's not okay to take the first picture from Google and just put it in there. Yeah. So one of the services we needed to invent on the way was a replacement with free clip arts of anything they might have stolen from someone else.
I'm sure a lot of you know Max has co-founded Regis24 before, a provider of customer contact and credit rating solutions. But before that, you tried, and as I read, you failed writing a novel. What happened?
I studied literature, so I mean, what do you want to do?
And politics, right?
And politics, yeah. So you find a nice place. I went to Lisbon. You start smoking and drinking and writing, and you fail.
But you were serious about it. You really
I tried for a whole year. So yes, I've got meters of stuff written. It just doesn't do anything when you read it. Then I realized I'm good at failing. So what do you want to do? So you become an entrepreneur.
Was it embarrassing for you, the failure, I mean?
Not many people read it, so had many people read the stuff, it would have been. I just reread it a couple of years ago. That's a funny thing. It's always embarrassing beforehand, but then afterwards you find out nobody cares, and then you get less scared next time.
What can you learn from it, from failing?
You can probably learn more from failure than from success. It's very difficult to copy success. Lots of people try to copy success. I don't think it really works, because all circumstances are different. That's one reason why I love the Entrepreneurs Organization so much, is we meet, it's 12,000 entrepreneurs worldwide, and we meet regularly to share our failures. Sounds a bit like anonymous alcoholics. We also drink, but that's not the main thing. But yeah, you learn a lot from failures from others, hopefully, and if not, from your own.
I read a quote where you said success comes from overestimating one's capabilities, perseverance, and sheer luck. I miss the original idea. Don't ideas matter?
No, ideas don't matter.
Why don't they?
I mean, you can come up with ideas every day. Now, I'm over-exaggerating, but yes, I do believe there's great ideas out there. Everybody has ideas. Most people who come up with an idea don't turn it into a successful business. It's still important, but if you want to grow a business, be it social or not, you have to be slightly crazy or overestimate your capabilities. Don't do market research or stuff like that. You get scared. You need to do it. You need to have enough energy at failing until you get lucky. And often people don't get lucky, and that's not because they didn't have an idea. They just had no luck.
When I looked at this conference's website, I saw that you haven't given up the idea of finishing your novel. You're still working on it?
No, that's two different things. I haven't given up the idea. I'm not working on it.
Okay. One other thing you're working on is the Entrepreneurs Organization. That's an international network. What is it? What's your role in it?
It's designed for entrepreneurs to learn and grow by sharing and learning from each other. My role is I'm serving as the regional director Europe. That's all volunteer stuff on the side. So we're about 1,000 entrepreneurs in Europe. Some of them are social entrepreneurs as well. So it's good to see, and I think more and more entrepreneurs I meet through EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, or outside, are thinking, at least when they start their second or third business, of starting a social business instead of a anti-social business, or how do you call the others?
An important meeting you had was with Mohamed Yunus in Amsterdam. What happened there?
Oh, that was embarrassing. My first company is credit rating, so we know we probably know most of you people and your financial backgrounds and when you pay your bills and when you don't. So we use that for online people who want to sell you something, and they, secretly, very quickly, they access that data. So I was talking to Yunus, who started this whole Grameen bank without any data, but on trust. And
won the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, I didn't. And he didn't make that clear. He just said, your thinking is wrong, and why can't you apply your business learnings to something with a social impact, rather than just build a nice little business? Nasty question.
Was it? So we're turning to Christian Vollmann, who founded nebenan.de, which connects neighbors. That's the main idea, but explain, please. What does it do?
Well, we are building social networks for neighborhoods. We make sure that only people who live there can actually join their neighborhood, and it's a closed shop, so Google can't index what's being shared. So people have the trust that they are really interacting with their neighbors. And what it actually does is, so we're using an online tool to actually reduce the hurdle for people to get to know their neighbors again, which is today not the reality in German cities anymore. You don't know your neighbors by default. And then actually beautiful things happen. People start to share things, whether it's the drilling machine or the ladder. People start to ask for help. Can someone help me lift something heavy to the 5th floor, or can someone borrow me something? People offer help, and people actually meet in real life around common interests, but also just for meeting their neighbors again.
What's the idea behind it? Is it that people are getting more and more lonely, that people in big cities, for example, don't really know anybody anymore, but sit in front of their screens, and therefore you are using their screens to reconnect them with real people? Is that it? Or?
Yes, it's a bit, that's part of the idea, to really use the virtual world, not making it bigger and bigger and grabbing more and more of our time and attention, but to kind of use it to bring people actually back into the here and now. That's part of the idea.
A quote I found is something you said: the social network will be the biggest impact, the social network with the biggest impact in the real world, you said. That means bigger than Facebook, right?
Well, what we meant is with the biggest impact on the real world. So it's really about when neighbors interact, and when someone says, I need a drilling machine, can someone lend me one? And another person says, yes, just come by and pick it up. Then you actually have to leave your door, you have to ring at your neighbors, which you probably haven't met before. You have to be nice, you have to talk to them. And then after you used it, you actually have to bring it back. So it's 2 encounters in the real world, just for one drilling machine, for one transaction. And that's what we mean with having an impact on the real world.
So there are real postcards and letters being sent?
Well, neighbors, the way it works is that we're looking for people who say, this is something I need in my neighborhood, and who are willing to initiate this in their neighborhood. And they actually start to invite their neighbors. And a lot of that happens offline. So they either ring or they put an invitation into the letterbox, and we actually help them do it.
You started this in Berlin, but you've moved on into 15 cities, 20 cities by now, or?
Yeah, I'm pretty much a child of the Berlin startup scene, having started as an intern in '99. I mean, you can see it, I'm here with my hoodie in the best Berlin startup scene fashion. And so we started in Berlin, but now we are already live in 15 German cities, and we want to be in the top 40 German cities by October this year.
And Munich as well, I guess.
Munich is live, yes, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Before that, you worked for several companies, for example, Yamba and the Samba brothers. What did you learn from them?
Well, I really started as, I didn't wake up one morning, or I wasn't born a social entrepreneur, I have to be honest. When I started as an intern at Alando, which was a summer company back in '99, I just wanted to learn, and it was super exciting times in the first internet wave, working in Berlin, and I learned a lot on how to just go out and do it, how to scale, how to motivate people for what you're doing. But then I think at one point, I started 2 other companies, but at one point I woke up and felt there must be more to this, and I was lacking a cause that I was going after.
Mm-hmm. Also, you founded several startups, and you put your money into companies like StudiVZ, Friendsurance, SumUp, Wundercar. How do you choose? What do you actually look for before you invest, before you get involved in something?
Yeah, as a business angel, I'm investing in very early stages usually, very often pre-product, pre-launch, and I'm really investing in people. And if I'm very honest, it's a lot about gut feeling. So what I'm looking for is this entrepreneur who has that spirit of, I need 7 lives, I will fail 6 times, and but I won't give up until I've solved the problem that I want to tackle. That's what I want to see.
Okay, let's get into a discussion. Is there anything that connects the three of you? An idea, maybe?
I think there's several things. I think one is we're all working as social entrepreneurs, but we're also in the eco-environment of helping social entrepreneurs. And I think a second thing is that it's still not a great environment for social entrepreneurs in Germany. We discussed this earlier.
Why is it?
Because of the business side. You know, you take education, but it's the same in others. You approach a problem. Teachers aren't as good as they could be. You come in there, you say you want to help teachers. They say, okay, that's kind of weird. You're not a teacher. Why do you want to do that? And then as soon as they find out you have a business model behind it, they're like, oh, wait a minute, your business? Yeah, so you're morally corrupt. So now you're trying to get into the good side. You know, you're going to steal the good side out of the social. You're going to make social antisocial by being business. We get a lot of that. Not from everyone, but from those with the loudest voices. Yeah. And also by a bunch of people in public administration, especially in the education side. There's some who really see it, but there's others who are not there yet.
You agree?
Well, I totally agree, and I think we all agree, because we want to make sure that social innovation is sustainable and turns itself around. So it needs to have a business model. Its return could be 7 years instead of 3 years. Okay, so the key performance indicators could be impact first and then profit, but it should have some profit goal to sustain itself. But we're finding that, I'm also finding, and it differs from country to country. Like America is more into this thing than Turkey. And UK is in the middle somewhere, so I've done UK and Turkey. But in Turkey especially, it's just like Germany, in the sense that investors don't want to hear about the word social. The minute you mention social, you said, that's not interesting. And as social entrepreneurs don't want to ask for money because they think that people are going to think they're going to take advantage of the situation, because everybody is used to being donated, donations from philanthropy. So there's a huge gap between philanthropy and social business, so investment. And without investment, social innovation won't go forward. And social business sits right in the middle of it. So that's what we're trying to grow, in fact.
So you actually really have to convince people.
You have to change the culture. You have to change the cultural understandings. There's a huge cultural gap. People don't even know what social impact is, social entrepreneurship is. Yeah. Yesterday Ashoka gave us a very good example last night. I don't know how many of you listened to it, but people don't even know. Is social entrepreneurship social media? You get even that. So there's a lot of misunderstanding. There's a lot of cultural stigma attached to asking money for something, for a cause.
And making money with a good cause.
And making money with a cause. Yeah. Because people, both on the giving side and the taking side, both.
If I may,
sure.
If I may add, I think it's ironic that what we as social entrepreneurs are trying to do is we are putting the cause in the center of what we want to do, and we're actually using the current system where there's investors. So we all learned how to fundraise, how to get money for our ideas, and so now we're applying this to tackling a social problem. And it's kind of ironic to being criticized for actually doing that, right? And that's where I think it's actually crucial that we get attention onto this problem, that we get support. And there I think Ashoka is playing a very important part in this. And Max and me have actually met through Ashoka. And I've actually met my co-founder, Till Behnke, who was the founder of Better Place and then Ashoka Fellow. So, and they play a crucial role in also changing the way that society thinks about this. Because I think social entrepreneurs should be applauded for actually, hey, we are the Robin Hoods, right? We're taking the money from the bad investors and we're applying that money to good causes. So this should be applauded, I think. It's kind of ironic.
Of course, yeah. Go ahead. Sure.
So when you pitch to investors, you probably don't say it's a social business.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, no, I was thinking a lot about this, but I decided that no, fuck it. I'm going to say I'm a social impact business. I call it a social impact business, and I explained to them, I believe this is a big business idea. Hyperlocal advertising is a big business opportunity. But it's an even bigger social impact that we're going after. And it's always going to be social impact first and business model second. We know that we can only be around in the long run and run this sustainably if we crack the business model part. But it is second to the social cause.
I actually am a little less brave than you in the sense that because the business has to survive and get the investment, I advise, for example, Nimble. It's a huge business opportunity already, 170 million baby boomers that just in UK and US alone, and that's a huge target market if you have a good business model and decide that it has a huge social impact. But if you start with the investor, you say, I'm a social business, they fall asleep, especially in the investors in Turkey. And investors in UK a little less because they're sort of more prop to it. In Germany, I don't know how it is, but you know, you're more brave. I think we should all be brave, but you might get rejected.
I'm hopeful that it's slowly changing a little bit. And yeah, I think it needs more social entrepreneurs who are just doing it and who show that it's not. So many people in the world think it's a contradiction, and it's either you're the bad business guy or you're the good social worker, and it cannot be combined. And I think the beauty, and that's, I mean, Grameen Bank is one example. The beauty actually happens, and the scalability, and you can scale your impact through the roof if you actually combine the two things. And it's possible.
The term social entrepreneur, when did you first hear it? I mean, it's not that old yet.
No, I mean, I first heard it when I became Ashoka fellow, Ashoka Support Network member, and my brother started to work at Ashoka, and that's when I really got into that mindset.
This one entrepreneur that I was helping with 1 million farmers, she never talked about being, I mean, she didn't know that she was a social entrepreneur. It's after Ashoka took her as an Ashoka fellow that she learned that I didn't know I was a social entrepreneur. I was just an entrepreneur, and they told me that I was a social entrepreneur. But she's a good one because she has a huge business potential with a very big social cause. And that's rare, actually, to find that combination.
I see a clock ticking down on the screen here. I think it's meant for me. Are there any questions from the audience?
Yeah.
Repeat the question.
Yeah, I can repeat the question.
Okay.
So the question was, how can we make money with?
My name is Sybil, and I want to ask you, Christian.
I think I heard it.
I think I understood your question. How can we make money with this? And it is, of course, exactly the Holy Grail that we're asking ourselves as well. What we do is, we do it the Anglo-Saxon way, which is we raise venture capital. So we get investors who are willing to take risks and who are willing to invest in our team and idea. And we're building up the product with that money, building up the team, and also installing the platform, bringing the users on board, and making sure putting the user in the focus, so the user gets value from the platform and is coming back and using it. And in probably around 2 years from now, we will start to test many different things on how we can make money. It will be indirect. The users will be using it for free. And our idea is that everybody who wants to bring people wants to bring people through the door, so brick and mortar stores, the local shopkeeper, the local cafe and restaurant, also the local hairdresser, and everybody who forms part of the neighborhood can reach their target audience in a very good way, without advertising to people that cannot even come to his store, and they of course have to pay for it. But for the user itself, it will be free.
We've got time for one more question.
Also, let's remember Also, let's remember the sentence, when you go to the bank the next time, I'm doing it the Anglo-Saxon way.
Actually a good comment. I can't resist, being from Ashoka, I can't resist to reinforce one thing you've said, which is, about the capital raising for social entrepreneurs and social finance. I think the interesting thing is that social entrepreneurs do it even another way than the normal business, in a way, because they very cleverly combine different sources of funding. And like, you get money from the government, you get money from foundations, and you get money from venture capital. And if you combine that cleverly, you can leverage money so much better in order to create impact. And I just want to tell those who are interested in that, in Germany, there's actually an agency doing that, the Financial Agency for Social Entrepreneurship. So if you think about investing in an interesting way, I think it's really interesting to follow up on that.
I just want to, can I make one point? One big thing that we didn't even talk about before even business is engagement, because there's a lot of people who want to do something. They don't know how. They don't know how to get into it. They want to have more of a cause in their lives than just business or just work. But I think what we have to learn, also social entrepreneurs, Ashoka entrepreneurs, whoever, is to engage people by storytelling. Because you don't act if you don't engage. And you only engage if you learn the story. And this refugee story, for example, all these babies dying. This one social entrepreneur moved mountains, saved the baby's life by telling this baby Rida's story on Facebook. Ask for all of our prayers. We all got engaged. Now I know baby Rida, who got saved from a heart operation, but she got all the money. This wasn't a social business. This just making impact of changing 33,000 refugees' lives, refugee babies' lives, one person at a time, just by storytelling. So there's also that side of things. It doesn't always have to be business. But business and technology make it more sustainable and scalable, that is for sure. But it's also social engagement, and we all have to learn how to tell the story, how to engage more people, get a big social movement so that there's more people who are sharing, helping, and the society is a better society because of it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ferhan Cook, Max Maendler, and Christian Vollmann.